Well, boys, looks like you started the fun without me.
You're all sick. Every last one of you.
We're going to need a bigger gun.
What's the matter? You scared of things that go boom, boom, boom?
Give me one goddamn reason why I shouldn't blow your goddamn brains all over that goddamn wall.
Michael Kester,
Hey, what's up?
do the show.
Okay.
Right now. Get
All
it
right.
done.
Okay.
Fast track this thing. Let's make it happen.
All right, it's already done. Now we just have to go back and figure out what we had done the entire time.
Oh, I wasn't even trying to set you up for that. We have, my name is Eric, by the way.
Oh, hello.
We are doing a Philip K. Dick show today.
Yes, we are.
Which is my favorite kind of show in the world to do. I don't even
Yeah.
care what the movies are, which is why we're doing Next and Paycheck.
Yeah, we basically have exhausted every Philip K. Dick film except for Next and Paycheck at this point.
So I want to give some more double feature behind the scenes. People love double feature behind the scenes.
So you're going to start by saying that we're not doing Blade Runner.
I don't listen to anybody's feedback, so I don't really know if they like double feature behind the scenes or not. My idea with the show is just do the show and don't listen to what anybody says.
Right.
Because it'll probably I learned in the early days, it'll make me cry and stop doing the show.
Well, if we don't follow what goes on with the show, one thing we can guarantee is that we won't change it.
Right. It'll be
And
consistent.
so anybody who likes the way it was will like the way it was in 5 years, and they won't say, that show sucked after year
Right.
5.
Having said that, we've changed the show, and I want to talk about it. We're back in the panic room, man.
We're back in the panic room.
For a while, maybe, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see. Here's the giant American flag, and I put up some sound dampening.
Yeah, sound dampening.
We're still missing a piece of the floor and the wall.
We got there's a towel there
I think
now, though.
yeah, you like the towel I put down to hide the floor. We'll get stuff figured out in here.
Uh-huh.
But we're at the Edgewater Beach Hotel.
Yes.
In what I hope will be Double Features home, but who the fuck knows how that's going to go.
Uh-huh.
And I hope the show sounds good. It's got to sound better than last time.
Yeah.
Or at least better than the one that was in the closet with the iPhone.
Yes.
So we're back on mics, and I think the input box finally works, and all very exciting. This was an episode, this wasn't part of the premeditated schedule where we sit down and come up with all these great ideas.
Right.
This was something, I think we came up with this a couple months ago or something, right?
Just really offhand.
It was in the middle of a show,
Uh-huh.
and we just went, Next and Paycheck. Oh, yeah, that's a good double feature.
Yeah.
And now it's time to deliver
Yeah.
on that double feature. So we're doing, I guess, Philip K. Dick look into the past and into the future.
Yeah.
And we're going to spoil both of those. There's some kind of analytical thing I could say about retroactively spoiling some kind of paradox or something.
Yeah.
But what's really happening here is if you haven't seen Next and you haven't seen Paycheck, we're going to spoil those two.
Uh-huh. And if you want to look into the future,
There you go. Yeah.
that's what the chapters are for.
I love that. Use the chapters. It's a feature of the show. You use a menu or something.
And it'll make you feel like Nicolas Cage.
It will make you feel like Nicolas Cage. You can chapter 2 minutes into. You can't chapter 2 minutes in the future.
2 minutes into the future.
You could fast forward 2 minutes in the future.
Wow.
Maybe you could. I don't know if your iPad Mini has a fast forward feature. Zoom does. Is that true?
I don't
Send
think
us
so.
an email. Anyways, I want to talk about
The Ben Affleck vehicle Paycheck. There, I said it. Okay. So I had seen Next. I saw Next when it came out.
Of course
I
you
remember
did.
particularly enjoying Next.
Nicolas Cage.
Paycheck was a film I entirely avoided, and it is all for one reason.
Yeah, what is that?
Ben Affleck.
Okay.
If you look at the cast of Paycheck, something I entirely avoided
Yeah.
until I
Yeah.
saw Paycheck.
Yeah, I'm glad this is the first thing you want to talk about straight out of the gate.
Ben Affleck is in the film, and he's on.
He's the star.
He's
of
on the
film.
cover, and he's
the star.
running from a puzzle.
Yeah.
Right. But
Right.
the rest
That's
of
all
the
you need
film-
to know. We can move on.
The rest of the film
Ben
is
Affleck runs from a puzzle. Oh, it's so good.
the rest of the film is Uma Thurman,
Yeah.
Michael C. Hall,
Sure.
Paul Giamatti.
Yeah. Well, don't forget the villain, man, Aaron Eckhart.
Oh, I was saving the
with
villain.
his hair
with one
plastered
face.
down. Yeah, right. Also get Joe Morton from Brother from Another
Right,
Planet.
yeah.
And what was the other one? Terminator 2 right,
Yeah.
that we did on
Yeah.
this show. Yeah, on paper. And it's also directed by John Woo. I think this is
Yeah,
our first John
this is-
Woo film.
I think it's the last John Woo film.
There's been some other
I
stuff.
mean,
There
it's
has
the
to-
last American John Woo film.
Well, so yeah, I mean, he was known for the American Face Off and Broken Arrow and that stuff.
And Don't forget.
But it
Hey,
was-
come on. Don't
What?
cheat me
What's
on
the other
Mission
John Woo?
Impossible too.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. Am I too? Yeah, you're right. You and I are still having Mission Impossible arguments.
Ghost
all the
Protocol.
goddamn
That's
time.
the
can't-
final
I
answer.
I guess that's it. But he did a ton of fucking, what are they, Hong Kong action films, right? A big name for that. John Woo, right?
Mhm.
John Woo is Hong Kong action
Sure.
films. And I want to get to that stuff eventually, but while we're talking about the legend that was Paycheck, let's talk about the legend that wasn't Paycheck, because
Yeah.
no one even knows this movie exists.
Yeah, Paycheck kind of came and
Did you
went.
hear the names that we just discussed?
Yeah,
Especially for the time it came out.
right.
I mean, now you got your Paul Giamatti's and, well, what's up, Paul Giamatti and Ben Affleck, who I don't even know who that
I
is.
think
He's behind the camera, not in front.
Yeah, it was what this was
Or both,
all.
maybe. I don't know anything about Ben Affleck's career.
This was
ignore
right
me.
before Kill Bill.
Was it? I think it was after.
Was
I think
it
was
after?
Yeah, because it was. That's 2003. I don't know where it
2003.
falls.
Yeah, I don't know
It's
either.
in the Uma Thurman A list.
It's when Uma Thurman mattered.
Yeah, right. Where did she
Before
go?
she was,
Uma
she was
Thurman?
actually my super ex-girlfriend, and that's where she went.
Oh, sorry about that, Uma Thurman. Well, I know we talked about, I think, on Kill Bill that she didn't even really like being in movies.
Yeah.
Tarantino was, hey, you have to be in movies. It'll be fun. Hey, I
Uh-huh.
swear this will be fun. Come be
Yeah.
in movies. And then Hollywood happens. Apparently, Hollywood is where your spirit just goes to die.
Mhm.
Everything you love vanishes. Sorry, I was getting off track. What was I talking about?
I believe Paycheck.
Yeah, I want to talk about how on paper, this is the biggest fucking sci-fi movie ever made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We have a Philip K. Dick movie,
Right.
which doesn't mean a lot as far as giant budget, but we do have things
Sure.
that he did that were huge.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
have
yeah.
our Blade Runners and
Total
Minority
Recalls.
Reports. Right, yeah, absolutely. And then we have John Woo directing, and this fucking A-list cast of people from all... We get Paul Giamatti to play the comic relief
Yeah.
for a couple scenes. I mean, it's incredible. And then most people have never heard of Paycheck.
Yeah.
People have heard of Paycheck until it was released on home video, and then immediately, as soon as they saw Ben Affleck running from puzzle pieces,
Yeah.
they passed by it and said, I'm not going to get that movie.
Yeah. I don't care.
And they
about,
move right
I
along.
don't care about his fear of puzzles.
So I feel like there is a place, there's an alternate reality where Paycheck is on the list of top 5 sci-fi films ever made.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the thing that might prevent it, and what the fuck do I know? But if there's something that's preventing it from its crowning atop that list,
2 hours long.
well, Blade Runner. I don't think Blade Runner and Minority Report. Hello. Yeah, you're right. It's not long enough. That's the problem with Paycheck. If it were only longer, people would pay attention. I think maybe it's the hokiness.
Yeah, okay, so we've used the term before on Double Feature, but only once, I believe, have we ever actually used the phrase hamster dance.
Hamster dance, yeah.
This film is 2 hours of hamster style.
Yeah,
The film opens and you go, what the hell is going on?
Mhm.
And you kind of try to let it unfold, and you get these notes of Total Recall and notes of Eternal Sunshine.
Sure.
Try to place where things are going and what's going on. Then you get this envelope of stuff
Right.
that
Right,
the rest of
items.
the film then
Yeah,
takes to
items.
be hamster style
Uh-huh.
for the remaining hour and 45 minutes.
Right.
You start trying to preempt the film by going, what's the use of that? What's the use
Sure.
of the lens? What's the use of, the
The
card?
stamps
And
that we paused
yeah,
on.
Exactly.
Or I thought my Apple TV was broken.
We get all of these little things, and then toward the end, I mean, the amount of
Oh, I know, it goes nuts.
there is
It goes
a fucking hamster infestation on the screen.
Right. And there's no way to guess what any of this does.
Right.
You just walk by an object, and I don't know how the fuck he guesses. I mean,
Well, he
plot-wise-
guesses because it's him. He
Yeah.
gave them to himself.
No, you're right.
He gets to be his own cue
Right.
in this situation.
When he walks by, the film's not cheating. When he walks by a door and suddenly just goes, this key must go here, something is flicking on in the back of his mind. We just don't always see that particular scene.
Well,
but yeah,
and
I'll believe that.
If you think about it, the person that he is setting up when he
Hmm.
sends that envelope, he knows how he thinks. He knows exactly what to send himself and what that will cause. it's like like I said, he gets to be his own Q. To look at James Bond,
Sure.
he gets to pick the gadgets that
Sure.
he knows he will be able to utilize in the exact way they need to be
Right.
utilized.
Yeah, well, that's the thing of the Bond films too, right?
Right.
You pick a bunch of gadgets, and then they all have a specific moment in your film that where, hey, if only I had good thing I picked that up earlier.
Exactly.
When I said hokiness, I meant more the music and the Paul Giamatti returns at the end in a quirky little, everybody laughs and throws their hands up.
And
then
that's how I spent 3 summers.
there's a fun music cue. And but the visual style too, because we have, John Woo doing sci-fi, when you think about Face Off, it's science fiction. We're switching faces, but it's not really science fiction. It's action. And Paycheck is really action, but not really. It's science fiction.
Right.
It's Philip K. Dick made into an action film. And so when we have the parts that need to be really dramatic, or more accurately, to get straight to it, to deliver sci-fi points.
Yeah.
We still have fast zooms, and we're using a wide-angle lens.
And Ben
for
Affleck.
everything, and Ben Affleck. I don't even think Ben Affleck is, if you want to talk about hokey, let's talk about the Michael C. Hall villain.
Yeah.
Now, no one even noticed Michael C. Hall back then.
Sure.
But since we've seen the rise and fall and more rising and some falling and
that
tripping
awesome scene in Gamer, right? Am
Dexter.
I right?
No, I was going for Dexter.
Oh, okay.
Since Michael C. Hall became Dexter and Dexter became a huge thing, and there are great and terrible moments of that franchise. It's a fucking franchise where Michael C. Hall is kind of a villain. He's an anti-hero.
And a producer.
And a producer. And so to see him play a villain kind of character in this and just be transparent.
Yeah.
It's funny to go back to the few movies where you have Michael C. Hall villains. That's a thing.
Yeah.
Michael C. Hall villain is a thing, and they're funny when they happen. But the John Woo style eventually pays off. You get the action scenes that are, even if they themselves are hokey, when I say hokey, we always talk really positive about films on double feature.
Yeah.
And I want to, now that we're in Edgewater Beach in the hotel, we can use this as an excuse to do even more dubious films. That's a direction I'd love to move. I don't think that hokey is necessarily, it's not like I'm trying to criticize the film. It's part of.
It's an affectionate term.
Hong Kong action is kind of goofy.
It is.
That's also part of it, And so it's definitely bringing that to, when you look at the action in this.
Yeah.
One of the most badass things is Uma Thurman hits the guy with a wrench, and he, his shotgun points at the ground, he shoots and comically springs out of the way. Like
Jackie Chan style.
Yeah, exactly. Or the robotic botany arm steals the gun.
The hamster robotic botany
And then it does some martial arts.
Yeah.
The robot botany arm does martial arts.
Right.
It's stuff like that I think an American audience watches this and kind of doesn't know if it's Minority Report or Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kung Fu Panda was the wrong go-to there.
There's a little Shanghai Noon.
Thank you. That's what I wanted. So maybe that's the Hong Kong side of it. The American side of it is the technology and when you think
explosions.
About, well, yeah, the action, I think, is the bridge between America and Hong Kong as far as to just, pin those two styles in a corner and just say, well, this is what they are. But the Philip K. Dick technology part is a very American thing, and it's a very Philip K. Dick thing. It's what we expect from those, from A Scanner Darkly and from Total Recall and Minority Report's the go-to.
Sure.
We've talked about that before. All new technology is compared to Minority Report. This movie is very aware of what Minority Report did and is trying to expand on that technology, which is funny because now the 2003 technology dates itself, where we still somehow turn to Minority Report, and I cannot wait for the day where we've surpassed the technology of Minority Report and can compare it to maybe A Scanner Darkly instead. Sure. But, we're still moving around screens with our fingers, and meanwhile, everything is in 4x3 and LCDs are the size of, fucking houses.
Right.
And he goes 3 years into the future and is using an Apple monitor from fucking 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I also love the packaging. That's another one. He gets the A-Life stupid fucking box in the beginning, and it's a giant cardboard. It looks like he bought a toaster or something from Target. You know what I mean? But all throughout the movie, there's things where he's in the subway tunnel and he's trying to fuck with the train by taking RAM out of the compartment, or even when the pseudo-uma, how do you want to do that?
I like pseudo-thermin.
Yeah, when the pseudo-thermin shows up, and the security question he asks is, what's my favorite baseball team?
Yeah.
It's literally like when you forget your password.
Yeah. Who was your first grade teacher?
And they make you ask stupid questions.
Your favorite restaurant?
Yeah, right. But then you have the Philip K. Dick concepts, and that's the stuff that's always timeless for me.
Yeah.
The future view that Minority Report talks about. People don't talk about the precogs in Minority Report. Right. They talk about the fucking Microsoft Surface. But that's it. Or the brain mapping and erasing of Total Recall.
Right.
It's so much of those things that it is not hard at all, for as buried as the Philip K. Dick stuff is. It's not hard to see it.
Yeah. Well, and there's two other big Philip K. Dick elements that are more conceptual. That I guess I never realized were themes until we watched these two movies.
That's the great thing about watching two of these random movies back to back.
Yeah, well, one of them is the idea of big corporate distrust and shady dealings, and one man versus the secret, the strong arm of corporate America, or the big organization, or whatever the fuck.
Sure. Well, and that's the suspicion. That's the paranoia. There's a big conglomerate that's
why you hide under the desk when you write the book.
Go back and listen to A Scanner Darkly or to Total Recall. But we've talked about Philip K. Dick. If you've never read his stuff or don't know anything about him, he's one of my favorite authors. He is just a fucking character. I mean, he thinks everybody's watching him, and he's nuts, and he's on drugs. He's just a fucking lunatic. And so when you read his stuff, you have to think about him, the personality.
Right.
There's no getting around that. And so, I guess that big corporate entity is part of the distrust that he always has.
Well, and the other thing that this film does that we've never really talked about on Double Feature is the idea of, I guess, guilt versus crime. Are you guilty if you haven't committed the crime?
Oh, sure. Well, and that was the big Minority Report.
Yeah, that is the idea of Minority Report.
Pre-crime.
But in this film, he doesn't remember anything.
No, not at all.
And he goes into the future and sees that the future, in this film, the future is fixed.
Sure.
And humanity will see its future, and that will cause it to kill itself.
Right. It will become its own undoing.
And so we get this idea of whether or not he's a criminal, even though he didn't knowingly do anything.
Sure.
It's
kind of the opposite of Minority Report.
Right.
Where Minority Report is, you haven't done it yet, so is it a crime?
Sure.
At what point, and that gets into that crazy thing I fucking hate of entrapment, where no one's committed a crime yet, but if you're going to stop crime, you have to bust somebody at some point. Where is the line?
It makes me think of Sacco and Vanzetti from way back, and we're going to get a little history on Double Feature. Have we talked about this on Double Feature before?
I don't know if we have, no.
You're familiar with this. There's these two guys way back. They were Italians, Sacco and Vanzetti.
You've told me about this.
And they were socialists.
On the show. Yeah.
When communism was bad.
Sure.
I'm gonna try to nutshell the story, but basically, a police officer was murdered, and it was believed that these two guys, one of which who couldn't even speak English, murdered him, and the whole suspicion was based on the idea that they're communists, thus evil, thus killed this policeman.
Right.
And they were on trial, and all these people were up in arms about how it's terrible that these people are just being persecuted based on the fact that they have the wrong political view.
Right.
Eventually, the guy who killed the police officer came out and said, I did it. I killed this cop. And the tribunal of judges went, okay, well, that guy's guilty, but also so are Sacco and Vanzetti, because they could have committed the crime.
Sure.
And they could be just as guilty because they're capable of that.
Right.
And all three of them were put to death.
Now, you explain this tale here.
Yeah.
And everybody goes, well, those two aren't guilty. But there is a line at some point they're definitively on the end where that's not
right.
They're not guilty.
They did the wrong thing on such an innocent level.
Right.
They exercised a freedom.
Right.
But
so at what point does it become I guess it's the point where if you don't stop them, but how do you ever know that?
Well, I mean, it's the other definitive line is you pull the trigger and the gun's not loaded.
Yeah, sure.
Then you're guilty, right?
Yeah,
that's attempted murder in the most definitive sense, though you haven't committed a crime.
Right. You tried your hardest and failed.
Yeah.
You just couldn't murder. You weren't good enough to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the truth of the matter is it's a gray area, and it's case by case. So this movie compounds that. It makes it even harder and says, all right, let's look at that in another manner. Let's get even more abstract with it. What if you don't remember any of it? Are you even yourself? 3 years has gone by and you don't remember anything from those 3 years. It also makes it impossible to do any kind of fucking police work because you're of no help. How would you go on trial? And I mean, then there's also the paradox element. That is another thing that Philip K. Dick toys with, and we'll see it again in next. But this is, he's seeing a future where he gives himself a bunch of objects. Yeah. And because he's seen that future, he can figure out what objects to give himself to produce that future. A future that would not have existed had he not looked into the future and already seen he had those objects.
Right. But the future is always fixed in Paycheck.
Right.
The future will always be the same. And whether or not that's one of the things I love about Paycheck, is because that's how I feel about time travel and looking to the future, is that he looks to the future, sees humanity kills themselves, but then further realizes it's because humanity saw that humanity kills itself, and so ends up trying to preempt its own murder by murdering itself.
Sure. Well, how do you feel then that the very plot of the film is to prove you wrong? I mean, he's basically, they do the apple thing, and they later talk about the paradox. I mean, they talk about it in the slides and stuff. But they're saying, all right, you're doing the curve thing, and you're just allowed to look in. And he's going, fuck that. I'm going to prevent the world from blowing up.
Right.
He's basically going, oh, hey, Michael Kester, you like that thing where there's just a timeline and that's how it always is? Yeah, that's the rule our film plays by. The plot of the film is that I'm going to break that rule. Right. I'm going to prove, I mean, anytime you invoke this paradox, it seems like it's to prove it wrong. That's going to be next again.
Sure.
Is that whole, can you change fate? Is it predetermined?
When it comes to time travel, you always have to play with that element. That's just a necessary part of films about time travel.
When you're watching a film, you get giddy seeing that. It doesn't matter that it's then going, hey, fuck you. As long as the movie's aware of it, that's enough.
It's like when you or I watch a movie and someone's in Chicago. You're just like, yes, Chicago. And then they turn right on the wrong street and end up in a different neighborhood, and you go, okay, not quite the same Chicago.
Well, we tried. The thing that keeps me coming back to Paycheck is the objects.
Yeah.
For as much as they're just like you said, it's fucking hamster dance. But the movie, I like movies that fixate on objects for some reason. I like the
idea of the utility of something beyond its functional fixation.
Well, or even just the very function itself. I don't know why, but just itemization. Just here are a collection of distinct things with purposes, whether their purposes are used accordingly or not. But I like that. I mean, Paycheck is the ultimate movie for objects. It is, as far as measuring, quantitatively. And here is a movie that claims to be about objects. It's got fucking 20 of them. There's that great scene in the hotel we finally get where he spills all the objects out, and then you get a careful moment to consider every single fucking one.
Right.
It goes, all right, these things are all going to be used in the future, probably to make you guess and then get frustrated when there's no possible fucking way you could have guessed.
Right.
But to have that scene to sit down and go, okay, I've got a bullet, and I've got the envelope itself, and I've got the key card, and I've got a key, and I've got the lens thing. And to take a distinct moment, Sin City style, to go, mitts, hatchet, and point out every single one of those things,
right.
It's almost pornographic for me.
Wow.
Let's talk about next.
So next is almost pornographic for me.
Sure.
For a few reasons.
because Nicolas Cage is a love machine.
Big part of that. No,
I want to talk about his failure as a love machine today, so that's coming. Just now.
So what I love about Next is the idea of seeing 2 minutes into the future.
Sure.
Not
I know.
2 days.
I know. That's
years,
my favorite part too.
It's
oh my
the
God,
notion of I can see into the future.
Yes.
A little.
Yes.
And where does that come into utility? Not in a global savior sense, because honestly, I feel like the biggest, possibly only failure of Next as a film is that it goes nuclear.
Oh, sure.
I think
right.
Next as a film could be amazing to just watch Nicolas Cage as a shitty magician.
Sure.
Who can try every pickup line.
Right.
Because those two aspects of the film make me the most excited I've been about a Nicolas Cage film since A Bear Punched an Old Woman.
We could talk about just that, but I want to defend the nuclear thing right away. Maybe I can fix this for you. In a movie where you do such an amazing thing as to say, no, we're just going to give it 2 minutes and play with that, isn't it also fun to go, why don't we just... What if you could see an infinite amount into the future? What do movies do? They have some kind of cliche nuclear. There's a bomb's gonna go off in Los Angeles. That's literally what it is, right?
But now
they do play with that.
Now let me
too.
Deconstruct that.
Uh-huh.
The film cheats. It
goes,
it
does.
Well, Jessica Biel's character gives him the power to see beyond the future.
It boosts his 2 minutes.
Yeah. And while it does provide possibly one of the most incredibly unforeseeable twists in cinema history, it's also kind of a crock.
The twist would be that Jessica Biel would sleep with Nicolas Cage.
Right,
those two characters.
So
they are possibly lame enough to sleep with each other. And that
I was joking with a friend about how Nicolas Cage can play every right card at every moment, and it still takes him a full 2 days to bed Jessica Biel, making her possibly the most unattainable woman in the world.
Right.
So Justin Timberlake, who just married her, had to play the long game.
Right.
And we've talked about Justin Timberlake. We love Justin Timberlake.
Sure.
He had to play the long game to bed Jessica Biel. Nicolas Cage, the perfect man, ideally, could only do it in 2 days.
Oh my God. When I tell people, we're going to do Next on the show, oh, what is next? Here's how that conversation goes. Well, it's a film where Nicolas Cage can see into the future. 2 minutes into the future. Yeah. That alone just does it for me. But the film does it justice right away. They show how, hey, you thought this was funny. No, this is a superpower. This is, it shows him dispatching these security guards, and by the end, you see him playing out multiple runs at once. Sure. Just in the film going, well, instead of resetting the clock, let's give you an actual 2 minutes. Yeah. You're just going to see him run in multiples in every direction to get a sense of the work he can do in his head in that amount of time. It's just this, that seems a different way to kind of show this thing we've been showing over and over.
Well, that's what the film starts doing, is it starts experimenting with how to show you 2 minutes of the future.
Right.
And it starts with just a really interesting way to look at Nicolas Cage's career, which is that he's a shitty parlor magician, and for some reason, people still entertain that.
Vegas magicians get a bad rap.
No, they do.
Penn and Teller, we've talked about all the time, are, in my opinion, the best act in Vegas.
Hey, now, you haven't seen, what is it called? From Appetite for Democracy.
No, I don't even know what that is.
That's the Guns N' Roses Vegas show that just went up.
Is it a magic show?
Maybe. It's magic that Axl Rose still has any sort of musical career.
Talking about magic shows. No, well, while it may be my opinion that it's the most well-done magic show, it is factually the most important magic show. But, Matt King does a really good show, and there's so many different...
Roy?
I think that's a little more Cirque du Soleil than my taste.
Yeah.
I'm a little more... I think Lance Burton is about as showboat as I will go in that arena. But yeah, I have a thing for magic, and Vegas magic especially.
Frank Cadillac.
There's... Frank Cadillac is probably, that's the bottom diner, even in Vegas. When you're in Vegas and no one goes to your show, people will see fucking anything. Have you ever been to Vegas?
I haven't yet.
You get out
the Goratorium will be the reason I go to Las Vegas. I promise you.
You get off the airplane and there's just tourism to
magicians.
the 100,000. I've never seen tourism like you see it in Vegas. And so you see all these shitty shows pop up. And maybe that's why there's a reputation for that.
It's the Branson, Missouri of the Southwest.
So that's a good place for his character to start, because you want to use that in the most. You want to basically do what the audience thinks. Oh, you can see 2 minutes in the future? Oh, what, you got a shitty magic act? Well, yeah, that is what I'm doing with my life. But then seeing him do the diner scene.
Infinite pickup lines.
And yeah, I mean, trying every possible conversation starter.
I love it.
It really is. I'm glad you like that about it, because it's one of those things that's also obnoxious, but it's the fucking point.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can't get into that, then this movie has nothing to offer you. That is a manifestation of every time you've ever thought, man, I wish it could have gone this way, or I should have done this. And then going, well, you'll never really know how it would have gone. I like to think, oh yeah, I live my life without regrets, but I have mental problems. I regret everything I do all the time. I constantly go, God, I could have done that better. And this whole thing, that's our show. Every show ends with me going, fuck, I should have done that better, which is probably true.
For me, I would solely use it to go, should I wait for the northbound bus or should I wait for the eastbound bus and get on the red line?
Right. No,
which one's coming first?
Yeah. Well, we don't have enough time to. If we had the 2 hours that Paycheck has, we could exercise the bus system with Nicolas Cage as well.
Even Next doesn't give you the power to see the buses.
And then seeing him talk to the guy in the diner, just going one step beyond that. And I mean, you kind of know it's going too well. So when this is happening, you're either going, oh, we're gonna kick back in, or oh, he's just finally executed this as best he could. And when it resets, I mean, that's the moment that's where you look in your heart and determine if Next is for you.
Right.
And I think you probably think the same thing I do, which is when it resets, I go, God, I hope this is the entire movie.
Yeah.
I hope we just do this diner scene over and over in every possible way this could play out. But then we do get to the kind of Hellraiser fear that you and I once expressed.
That there's 4 movies after the first 4?
No, that you wake up in a dream and that it is all for naught. And I remember our previous rule about this, and so I want to revisit this.
Okay.
There are spoilers in this show. I want to talk about the ending of Next, where we wake up and it was a dream.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, and this is what we discussed on Hellraiser, I think it was on Hellraiser, that the amount of suffering that one of these kind of gimmicks causes, or how much of a gimmick it feels like, is directly proportional to how long we spend.
How much of the movie is a fucking lie?
Yeah, right. How long the lie is. And at the time we said, you know, if Nicolas Cage walks over and says something and 5 seconds later it resets, that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
But if he spends 3 days of his life doing something and we wake up and the movie's over and we've spent all the time, then we feel ripped off.
Right.
But Next does it in a way, and this is again what I love about Philip K. Dick, it's so, it just forces you to analyze and think about these things. It talks about the rules. And it talks about, look, for the rest of this movie, this guy's only going to be able to see 2 minutes in the future,
right?
Unless he's hanging out with the hippie lady he met,
right?
Does that change anything when you get to the end of the movie and it goes, haha, fuck you, it was all a dream? He's going to change stuff.
You know,
do you get that Hellraiser, God damn it, what have I been doing for an hour?
I really didn't get that, because what it allows for is for my favorite thing in a film, and then the film to do what it wants to do.
Right.
My favorite thing in Next is to think that the FBI uses its evil hands, because, again, Philip K. Dick and his paranoia, and the FBI manipulates human beings into doing their bidding.
Oh, Julianne Moore wouldn't do that to you. She wouldn't. She's the most, by the way, I think I'm more compelled by Moore's character than I'm supposed to be.
I think she's,
I don't know
I can't
why.
tell if she's good or evil. Around the time she says, "Are you going to let me die?" I think I hate her.
Yeah, isn't that it? Maybe it's from the Hannibal stuff or whatever. Something about it, I'm just...
You're not familiar with Julianne Moore on 30 Rock, then?
No, that's an area I'm unfamiliar with. Well, it's because we're comparing her to the charm of... what does he say? Have you heard about the Zen master who ordered the hot dog?
I love it.
and then the soft piano comes in, I just go, there's no way I will ever identify with these two fucking whack jobs. Oh, look, an FBI agent doing real work who lives in the real world. Okay,
Right.
let's hang out with her. After she doesn't want to share a bed, by the way.
Right.
Jessica Biel's character will not share a bed with Nicolas Cage.
It's because she knows she's hot and she knows Nicolas Cage is crazy.
They're just sleeping. He's going to stay in the...
I don't know, man.
God, I hate that.
Anyway.
Sorry.
So what the film does, despite create, apparently for you, a beloved Julianne Moore role, is
It's just because Julianne Moore would sleep in the bed.
That's true,
That's
she would.
ultimately what it comes down to.
But what she would also do is manipulate a person who can see 2 fucking minutes into the future, which is barely a thing, and
Barely a thing.
forces him
Is that its
to
own hashtag? Is a thing, is not a thing, barely a thing.
forces him to try to stop a nuclear catastrophe and fail.
Right.
It allows the reason I'm okay with the big cop out Nicolas Cage is still in the bed
Sure.
is because the previous story that he wakes up from is him going through hell, him running from logs down a mountain,
Right.
and at the end of
CG logs.
right at the
Possessed
end,
logs from Alan Wake. That's what he's running from.
at the end of the end of the story, California explodes.
Sure.
And the
As it
FBI was
rightfully
an
should.
idiot to go,
Yeah.
instead of police work, let's get this magician.
Right. Right. Shitty magician has to be... Maybe it's a lame birthday party magic. Maybe that's why she won't share the bed. I have a hang up on this bed thing.
Yeah,
I don't know
see
why.
that.
It's only a nap. Hashtag not a thing. It's just a nap.
You know what's weird?
Taking
is,
naps with strangers I've known for 20 fucking minutes. It's just a nap. You drove them across the... I would nap with someone before I drove them fucking anywhere. They can walk.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think that one of the weirdest parts is they go in and talk about how lovely the room is, and then there's only one problem. There's just one bed. It's not like it's a twin.
Sleep on opposite sides. Head to
Sleep
toe.
on the floor in the same
We've
room.
seen this in... Okay. I'll let it go. You're right, though. I mean, it's one of the many reasons I wouldn't call it a cop-out, or I guess I don't feel cheated, is, well, one, you get to see the fuck you ending, which is good. The only thing that makes it feel like a cop-out is naturally after the world just fucking blew up, or California cracked off and floated into the ocean, or whatever the hell happens, you see all your characters, blown to pieces, and then it goes, no, just kidding, they're okay.
Yeah.
And when you see a movie do that, you think, fuck you, cop-out.
But the thing is that you go, no, okay, wait, Jessica Biel just got laid.
What's that? Right,
Jessica
which is its
Biel
own
has
kind of
just
cop-out.
gotten laid for days.
Right.
I'm sorry, there's a thing for me and Mary Camden. And
Now I'm understanding. Well, they set up the rules, and they play with the rules, and it's a movie kind of about those rules. So at the end, I just see that as an extension of the ongoing Philip K. Dick thought experiments. It's going, all right, well, that's one way it would have played out. You know, usually they try and coat this stuff that way. They go, no, all the characters didn't die, but it's just one of many possible scenarios, and you want to interrupt the fucking bullshit Nicolas Cage voiceover that's telling you sometimes, not often, but sometimes it's the real deal, that bullshit.
Right.
You want to interrupt that and go, no, I don't care about the sugar coating on the outside of this. You just bullshitted your ending.
Right.
But this movie really means that sugar coating. It really means that is one of several possible scenarios. It's not the one that happened.
Sure.
We're still, because that at its heart is what the movie's about. That's
Yeah.
why they're doing a movie where you could see 2 minutes into the future. So, you know, in that way, it's true to its core, and that makes it an okay ending.
Yeah.
Or better than Hellraiser anyways, which is where the bar's at.
That is the bar.
On Double Feature.
Until James Cameron tells us otherwise.
doublefeatureshow.com. Raise that bar, doublefeatureshow@gmail.com. I hate to call out the cool references you make, but South Park is the best goddamn thing ever made. I just feel like it's been days since we've said that on the show.
Yeah.
And it's, can we make South Park the Mythbusters of Edgewater Beach Hotel? We'll just transition into talking up South Park, and then for year 6, we can just reiterate how good bullshit is. There, now I've tagged all of them. Mythbusters, South Park, bullshit.
Awesome. I like Frasier.
There's another thing we're going to do on the show with movies and what have you.
Oh, yeah. This has less to do with Frasier and more to do with what? Vampires and...
Vampire
it has to do
Hunter, Bounty Killer. There's just a song that popped in my head and I realized I don't know who. Is that a B. Dolan song?
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right,
either.
I've ventured off into the weeds of obscurity again.
We're doing a director-centric episode next time. You know what? You can use the internet or be surprised. I'm going to tell you the films. I'm not going to tell you the director.
No, tell me the director. I want to know.
Do you?
Yeah, tell me the director.
All right. I guess we're doing Thinner and we're doing Fright Night.
Yeah.
Tom Holland double feature.
Who's that?
Yeah. Watch more fucking film.
Bye.
Yeah.
Sure. And now it's time to deliver.
Yeah.
On that double feature. So we're doing, I guess, Philip K. Dick look into the past and into the future.
Yeah.
And we're going to spoil both of those. There's some kind of analytical thing I could say about retroactively spoiling some kind of paradox or something.
Yeah.
But what's really happening here is if you haven't seen Next and you haven't seen Paycheck, we're going to spoil those two.
And if you want to look into the future,
there you go. Yeah.
That's what the chapters are for.
I love that. Use the chapters. It's a feature of the show. You use a menu or something.
And it'll make you feel like Nicolas Cage.
It will make you feel like Nicolas Cage. You can chapter 2 minutes into... You can't chapter 2 minutes in the future.
2 minutes into the future.
You could fast forward 2 minutes in the future.
Wow.
Maybe you could. I don't know if your iPad mini has a fast forward feature. Zoom does. Is that true?
I don't
Send
think
us
so.
an email. Anyways, I want to talk about...
the Ben Affleck vehicle Paycheck. There, I said it. Okay. So I had seen Next. I saw Next when it came out.
Of course
I
you
remember
did.
particularly enjoying Next.
Nicolas Cage.
Paycheck was a film I entirely avoided, and it is all for one reason.
Yeah, what is that?
Ben Affleck.
Okay.
If you look at the cast of Paycheck, something I'd entirely avoided until I saw Paycheck.
Yeah, I'm glad this is the first thing you want to talk about. Show.
Well, if we don't follow what goes on with the show, one thing we can guarantee is that we won't change it.
Right, it'll be
And
consistent.
so anybody who likes the way it was will like the way it was in 5 years, and they won't say, that show sucked after year 5.
Having said that, we've changed the show, and I want to talk about it. We're back in the panic room, man.
We're back in the panic room.
For a while, maybe, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see. Here's the giant American flag, and I put up some sound dampening.
Yeah, sound dampening.
We're still missing a piece of the floor and the wall.
There's a towel there
I think
now, though.
yeah, you like the towel I put down to hide the floor. We'll get stuff figured out in here. But we're at the Edgewater Beach Hotel.
Yes.
In what I hope will be double features home, but who the fuck knows how that's going to go. And I hope the show sounds good. It's got to sound better than last time.
Yeah.
Or at least better than the one that was in the closet with the iPhone.
Yes.
So we're back on mics, and I think the input box finally works, and all very exciting. This was an episode. This wasn't part of the premeditated schedule where we sit down and come up with all these great ideas.
Right.
This was something, I think we came up with this a couple months ago or something, right?
Just really offhand.
It was in the middle of a show, and we just went, Next and Paycheck. Oh, yeah, that's a good double feed. That was Paycheck. Let's talk about the legend that wasn't Paycheck, because no one even knows this movie exists.
Yeah, Paycheck kind of came and
Did you
went.
hear the names that we just discussed?
Yeah.
Especially for the time it came out.
Right.
I mean, now you got your Paul Giamatti's, and, well, what's up, Paul Giamatti, and Ben Affleck, who I don't even know who that is.
I think,
He's behind the camera, not in front.
Yeah, it was, what, this was
Or both, maybe. I don't know anything about Ben Affleck's career.
This was right before Kill Bill.
Was it? I think it was after.
Was
I think
it
was
after?
Yeah, because it was, that's 2003. I don't know where it falls.
Yeah, I don't know
It's
either.
in the Uma Thurman A-list
It's
days.
when Uma Thurman mattered.
Yeah, right. Where did she
Before
go?
she was
Thurman.
actually my super ex-girlfriend, and that's where she went.
Oh, sorry about that, Uma Thurman. Well, I know we talked about, I think on Kill Bill, that she didn't even really like being in movies.
Yeah.
Tarantino was, hey, you have to be in movies. It'll be fun. Hey, I swear this will be fun. Come be in movies. And then Hollywood happens. Apparently Hollywood is where your spirit just goes to die. Everything you love vanishes. Sorry, I was getting off track. What was I talking about?
I believe Paycheck.
Yeah, I want to talk about how on paper, this is the biggest fucking sci-fi movie ever made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have a Philip K. Dick movie, which doesn't mean a lot as far as giant budget, but we do have things that he drained out of the gate.
Ben Affleck is in the film, and he's the star. He's on the cover, and he's running from a puzzle.
Yeah.
Right. But the
Right,
rest
that's all
of the
you need to
film-
know. We can move on.
The rest of the film
Ben
is
Affleck runs from a puzzle. Oh, it's so good.
the rest of the film is Uma Thurman,
Yeah.
Michael C. Hall,
Sure.
Paul Giamatti.
Yeah. Well, don't forget the villain, man, Aaron Eckhart.
Oh, I was saving the
with
villain.
his hair
with one
plastered
face.
down. Yeah, right. Also get Joe Morton from Brother from Another
Right,
Planet.
yeah.
And what was the other one? Terminator 2, right,
Yeah.
that we did on
Yeah.
this show. Yeah, on paper. And it's also directed by John Woo. I think this is our first John Woo film.
I think it's the last John Woo film.
There's been some other stuff.
I mean,
There
it's
has
the
to-
last American John Woo film.
Well, so yeah, I mean, he was known for the American Face Off and Broken Arrow and that stuff.
And don't forget,
But it
hey,
was-
come on. Don't
What?
cheat me
What's
on
the other
Mission
John Woo?
Impossible too.
Oh, yeah, no, you're right. I might too. Yeah, you're right. You and I are still having Mission Impossible arguments.
Ghost
all the
Protocol.
goddamn
That's
time.
the final
I guess-
answer.
I guess that's it. But he did a ton of fucking, what are they, Hong Kong action films, right? A big name for that. John Woo, right? John Woo is Hong Kong action films. And I want to get to that stuff eventually, but while we're talking about the legend.
Well, boys, looks like you started the fun without me.
You're all sick. Every last one of you.
We're going to need a bigger gun.
What's the matter? You scared of things that go boom, boom, boom?
Give me one goddamn reason why I shouldn't blow your goddamn brains all over that goddamn wall.
Michael Kester,
Hey, what's up?
do the show
Okay.
right now. Get
All
it
right.
done.
Okay.
Fast track this thing. Let's make it happen.
All right, it's already done. Now we just have to go back and figure out what we had done the entire time.
Oh, I wasn't even trying to set you up for that. We have, my name is Eric, by the way.
Oh, hello.
We are doing a Philip K. Dick show today.
Yes, we are.
Which is my favorite kind of show in the world to do. I don't even
Yeah.
care what the movies are, which is why we're doing Next and Paycheck.
Yeah, we basically have exhausted every Philip K. Dick film except for Next and Paycheck at this point.
So I want to give some more double feature behind the scenes. People love double feature behind the
Double
scenes.
feature behind. So you're going to start by saying that we're not doing Blade Runner.
I don't listen to anybody's feedback, so I don't really know if they like double feature behind the scenes or not. My idea with the show is just do the show and don't listen to what anybody says.
Right.
Because it'll probably I learned in the early days, it'll make me cry and stop doing the show.